Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of Business Insider. And in this episode, we will be talking about the government's initiative to support the industrial and agricultural sectors. As the government recently approved an initiative to support industry and agriculture with 11% interest rate loans. The Cabinet recently approved the initiative aimed to support those sectors. According to the Cabinet, the government will allocate 150 billion Egyptian pounds to the 5-year initiative, including nearly 140 billion to finance capital money and 10 billion to finance the purchase of capital goods. The amount of credit available to each company will be determined by the volume of its business and banking rules, provided that the maximum credit limit allowed for each company does not exceed the amount of 75 million Egyptian pounds. The initiative also stipulates that each company has transactions with maximum 2 banks from those participating in the initiative. The companies joining the initiative bear a reduced interest rate of only 11%, as the Ministry of Finance bears the difference in interest rates. Among other details revealed is that it is prohibited for any client to use any of the credit available under this initiative to pay any other debts within the time frame of the initiative. The executive mechanisms of the initiative are being developed in coordination between the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank of Egypt, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Ministry of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, and other concerned parties, according to the Cabinet. This will be our main topic for tonight, but of course, first we'll be taking a look at our top stories for this past week after this short break. So please stay with us. Welcome back. Now, our top stories for this past week. The Minister of Finance has asserted today Egypt's keenness on effective contribution facilitating the international trade movement and attracting more foreign and local investments to help benefit from the strategic position Egypt enjoys. In a statement on Wednesday, Dr. Mohammed Maid said that the program authorized economic operator will be expanded to facilitate procedures dealing with the customs. The finance minister also said that Egypt's distinguished geographic location and its strong infrastructure help increase investments and trade with world countries, especially with Africa. And Egypt and Qatar are considering the launch of a joint investment fund. The Minister of Planning, Dr. Hala Al-Said, has said recently. This comes within the framework of the Prime Minister's official visit to Qatar to bolster bilateral cooperation in several fields of common interest. It is worth noting that Egypt and Qatar signed an agreement on February 27th to eliminate double taxation on income and prevent tax evasion and avoidance. And the official spokesman of the Ministry of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, Mohammed El-Irsh, has said that his ministry is complying with the directives of His Excellency President Al-Sisi to increase the number of arable lands to improve the living conditions of Egyptian farmers. In statements yesterday, El-Irsh said the state's development plan focuses on the farming sector, pointing out to the land reclamation in the New Delta and Toshka regions to achieve self-sufficiency of food. He also said that the state is working on increasing the space of agricultural lands in Sinai through providing irrigation waters hailing a plan to cultivate 600,000 fidans in the Sinai Peninsula with fruit and citrus. And time now, dear viewers, for another short break here on Business Insider. When we come back, we will be introducing you to our distinguished guests here with us in the studio and watching a report on tonight's subject. Please stay with us. Welcome back, dear viewers. With us now here in the studio is Engineer Mostafa Waly, and he's the former General Manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries. He's also a member of the Energy Committee at the Cairo Syndicate of Engineers and member of the Egyptian European Business Council. Great pleasure to have you with us, Engineer Waly.
Pleasure is mine too.
Thank you, sir, for being with us. Allow us, Engineer Waly, dear viewers, to watch first a report about tonight's topic, the government's initiative to support the industrial and agricultural sectors via the low interest rate loans.
Egypt will adopt a 5-year initiative worth £150 billion to support the agricultural and industrial production sectors, especially by reducing their loans' interests in the face of the repercussions of the global crises. The cabinet has announced in a statement that the initiative aims to enhance local production by focusing on priority sectors, especially the industrial and agricultural sectors, in order to achieve the state's developmental and economic goals and increase capabilities of facing the repercussions of the global crises. Minister of Finance Mohammed Mu'ayt said the initiative mainly includes reducing interest rates on loans provided to these sectors so that they can face the negative repercussions of the global crises. The total value of the proposed initiative is around £150 billion, of which about £140 billion will be allocated for financing working capital operations and around £10 billion will be for financing the purchase of capital goods. The amount of the credit available to each company will be determined in light of the size of its business and the banking rules in this regard. Minister Mu'ayt stressed that financing will be approved by companies joining the initiative at a low interest rate of 11%, provided that the state bears the cost of difference in the interest rate. Head of the Federation of the Egyptian Industries, Mohammed El-Suwaidi, affirmed that the initiative would suit the largest segment of the manufacturers and farmers. For his part, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli affirmed that the government would take all steps that would support the productive sectors, especially regarding the industry and agriculture. Egypt has been implementing steps to support the agricultural and industrial sector amid the global economic crisis that have caused inflation to surge and multi-billion imported goods to be accumulated at Egyptian ports due to the shortage of the foreign currency. Stock goods worth $1.5 billion were released from the Egyptian ports from the 1st to the 10th of January, upping the total value of released goods since the start of December to $8.5 billion. This includes more than $613 million worth of goods required for industrial purposes, including food products, primarily industrial supplies, and spare parts.
All right, many thanks to Rasha Abdul Hamid and Abir Hussein for this report. And we're back now with Engineer Mostafa Waly, the former General Manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries, with us here in the studio. Engineer Waly, how do you see the initiative? This is the latest in a series of initiatives aimed at boosting both the industrial and agricultural sectors?
A very important and highly appreciated initiative, and it's in the right time, and it's even in a tough time. So when you have tough times, your priorities might change. Then you have to rely upon which is which. I mean, concerning the demands of a whole country. And in this case, the government actually was very, very wise and thoughtful when it assigned the maximum available, according to the situation, the maximum available assistance to the productive sectors of the country. Of course, mainly they are the industry and agriculture. And sometimes they will match together, and they get side by side together. The most important thing, the steps and the nature of this initiative is 100% complying of what should be done. Because in this case, we are in the world who has affected badly of a lot of events, you know. Most of them are out of our hands, and many countries like us. For example, if you look at the supply chains, the supply chains is an essential step to have a complete product, for example, or to have a final product, or to have a part of a product needed for the industry or needed for the society. You need it badly for, essentially, for supplying the daily life, people's daily life, mainly for us, is the wheat, for example. And if you maintain it, I mean, the normal supply as quantities, but all of a sudden, the effect of the supply and demand will be affected, and then all of a sudden, the increase in the cost of the same product just a few months or few weeks ago. I'm telling you this just to get to the point that if it is out of our hand, then you blame nobody. I mean, we were doing to the best before COVID, and then now it's what happened in this intervention.
The
Russia-Ukraine problems. The effect and the repercussions of such events is really heavy, even on the developed world, to the Americans, to the British, to the whole European. Before even this war, before this Russia-Ukrainian, it was COVID effect. We luckily could manage with this COVID. And then all of a sudden comes this very important and very, very harmful to the economy of the whole world, you know. Everybody is suffering from it. So for the government to give the basic and the most important what she can allocate among a lot of demands.
We are talking here about 150 billion Egyptian pounds.
Yes, and you can imagine if things are okay, and this 150 billions could have been used for development, not to cope for the demands. You know, I mean, it's needed at least to cope with the increase of what's going on. At least if you look at the shortage of the supply and still the demand is the same, then it is again. It's a higher price for everything. And if you look at enterprises, you will have small and medium enterprises, you have even big enterprises. This is applicable to us, and at the same time with the same effect on whole the world, including the developed country. And it's now a struggle in every country is how to cope with the consequences and the repercussions of this problem. Right. I'm emphasizing this just to make sure that we know that it is a real tough time. It needs the maximum possible, you know, of attendance, of care, that you first have to cope with the basic demands of your country. I'm talking now about responsible government. And this is what they are doing, and soon you will find, soon you will feel the positive effect, at least to neutralize any negative effect by time.
So as you said, I mean, this is being done in order to meet our needs. And when we say the industrial or the agricultural sectors, you said they converge at times. This is certainly in the food industry.
Exactly, yes.
And it's definitely better for any country to produce its own goods and to depend on the local product as much as it can.
Yes.
So how much of this initiative is aimed at supporting the local product, and how do you see this working?
Well, you can have it in the same package. You are talking about the local, then, but of course, then you need materials. You need a certain equipment you have to import, you know, immediately. And this you can't help.
And this is why 10 billion of the
exactly.
150 have been allocated capital goods, yes.
Actually, let's say capital assets, you know, or fixed assets, you know, which mainly it will be machinery and other things necessary also to have it, replacement spare parts and all this. And working capital, of course, to the material and everything. In this case, is this what you can afford? Then how you can divide it evenly and to the best to cope with the demands. This is a very tough, very tough job for a government. But hopefully we will see the effect, because a lot of precautions have been put to make it successful to the maximum. For example, now we get to this initiative.
Yes.
Part of this initiative is very clear that it's none of the available fund or whatever finance through, of course, banks with the customers, is to eliminate previous debts, because it should be for the positive, you know. At least, otherwise somebody else would need this to progress, and it's simple as that. And this was very good sign, very good sign.
Yes, and Engineer Waly, we are talking here about the priority sectors. So within those priority sectors, the industrial and agricultural sectors, what is the priority? I mean, the priority domain.
Rising of the priority.
Yes.
It is like, I'm always saying this. I mean, that's general. Let me say it again, because it's true. When you have a matrix of problems, each problem has a headline, you know, you can nominate it, you can put it under category. The more you have of such a problem, the more you have of such elements of a big matrix to be solved. This is even for the normal mathematics, is a real problem, is a real problem. Then how to, as much as you can, you prioritize all priorities. That's difficult, very difficult.
Integration, right? Was it?
Well, actually, it's part of it.
The matrix was part of it.
Yes, you know, but it's true. It's true, because the matrix is a country, it's a society, has a lot of demands, which of course should be expressed in a form of an issue. Then you put this issue. It needs resources. It needs to be solved. So the solution in this case is to get to the right solution is to allocate what is needed for this to be solved as a problem. Then material, for example, then assets, then human, you know what I mean. All this, then it's a big matrix in this. It's most of the developed societies have passed through this until it reached to the few problems which they have to tackle. For example, sometimes the problem is in high tech. For example, for us, for the developing countries, you want to reach the high tech application.
But there are other problems you have to solve first.
To make, for example, I put it not theoretical. Let's have it. Unless you have, for example, a sober, strong, real strong infrastructure, you cannot have a superstructure. And when you have a better superstructure, then you have absolutely you have a viable society with everything. But first you must have the infrastructure. We are passing this phase now successfully, even with these troubles what we have now. I will not go into details, because now everybody knows even the word in Arabic, the superstructure, the infrastructure, and the need for it. And it proved over the time that it is essential to build upon.
Right, right. So, what are the priorities within the industrial and agricultural sectors?
Well, first of all, for those who have been working well, and these are facts, you cannot play with these facts and figures.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
So any enterprise, any sector, let's have it sectors, any sectors prove that he is supplying as much as required, or even 100% of the requirement of the demand of the Egyptian society, of Egypt as a nation and as a country. This is successful. Even the more successful that who can supply and export. So
they don't
yes.
need, you're saying that those types of businesses would not need,
but
or would
if
not
they
be
were
part of the
affected,
initiative.
if they were affected, we have to help them because they prove they are successful. And this will be one of the conditions, main condition, the history of the success of any enterprise dealing with the banks, who will give them the loan with 11%. So that the government will bear the rest, the balance, which will be around 10 billion. Or 6 billion a
So
year.
do we get those who have a history of success into the initiative immediately?
If they were affected.
If they were affected.
If they were affected.
What if
And
they
most
weren't?
of them are affected, frankly
Most of them have been
speaking.
affected. But effect from effect differs.
Of course,
I mean,
of course.
some have been affected, some have seen the margin of their profits dwindle from, say, 30% to 20%. That's a negative effect. But others have gone from profit to loss.
Yes, yes.
So those would get the priority.
Yes. Due to all the market reason which is beyond our control, the shortage of supply.
Okay, so you have two cases. Let me, I mean, you were a former, key official of the business industry in Egypt. I mean, you were in the Federation of Egyptian Industries, and you held a high position. So if it was up to you, we have two cases here.
Yes.
One for a company that saw its profits dwindle, but they have a good record with banks.
Yes.
And another that doesn't have such a good record with banks, but they have gone from plus to minus. Which of the two gets the priority now?
I'm talking
if you were the decision maker.
I'm talking to an engineer, then I will put you to the most important element, the basic element in this comparison.
What do they produce?
That's a comparison, When you get in comparison, you should have all the conditions to be fairly discussed equally, the basics, so that you can compare. Some you cannot even have unique, they are unique, for example. When you want special medicine, which you don't have, then there's no way. You must have it, especially, that's it. So the comparison will be difficult, but when it comes to, let's get to the basics, we need...
That's assuming that they are in the same area, in the same field. They produce the same type of product.
That's a priority, actually. And who will do this now? This is a market play, and the market dynamics. And because things are not between a day and night.
But the ones who should be supported the most are the ones with the key products. I mean, the needs, right?
Those who produce the needs. That's a start.
Okay. Yeah. Could you give us examples of those needs?
Oh my God.
A lot of needs,
yes. But look, for example, anything has to do with the majority of the Egyptian people demand. It's the daily. Well, let's have it from the side of agriculture. Then it is the vegetables. How much we can afford for our Egyptian people the vegetable in affordable prices, compared even to the time before.
And the vegetables have not gone up in price as much as the other.
I'm giving you. So any what you call any other item, the majority can discard for some time or forever. It can happen, But the most important thing to maintain a society who is not facing the problem of shortage, which will affect the life of all the generation, including the kids, for example, you know. For example, we must have enough for the kids.
So
you know the famous
with the food sector or the medicine.
Yes, you know the very famous proverb. Of course, sorry for interruption. You know the very famous proverb that food on the table. That's this. Sometimes politicians in the
West, everywhere,
yeah. Then they refer to this. You know, how to supply, how to make sure
food on the table.
Have food on the table. And in other ways, Bardo, there is no free lunch. I mean, I'm just referring to these terminologies, not to stick to it, but to show how it is a problem of the humanity in general when they face something which will affect their daily demand, especially if people got used to a certain level of life, and that's human rights there. I mean, nobody is giving them, that's the demand. And here is a success of governments, you know, to do its best within the economic system, which is now only, it's the free market.
Right.
But should be controlled when there is time. And it happened even in the extreme capitalist society and free society.
In the difficult times.
Yeah, especially, we know, to help even a special industry. You know, in 2000, in the problem of the Asian problem, you know,
the Asian tigers.
Some of the Asian tigers, that's another. But I'm talking about its ramification. General Motors, I'm giving name because it's a big name, well-known name, you know, were about to announce bankruptcy. That time, it was important that the government bail out, you know.
Too big to fail.
Of course, and they were given the maximum available and the largest available fund for bailout for a lot of big names like this in America, and it worked, and it paid back again.
And big banks as well
of course,
bailed out
some,
back then.
Yes.
So 11% interest rate. I mean, that's way lower than the regular. That's a huge discount, right?
Of course.
So how do you see this helping?
If it's 11, actually, it's no secret. It was announced that the people trying to defend, of course, their community, I mean the people in the industry and even some other communities, were pushing hard to maintain, you know, 6% and 7%, as there was an initiative before, a very important initiative. It had given good results over the years, you know. It was the initiative of the Central Bank of Egypt, you know, was affording 100 million also that over the last 5 years.
Okay,
maybe 3, 4. Before, but it was there, you know, and it worked well, you know. And you know, at the time you don't feel this because things were moving. Now, because things are getting tough, then you start to feel the impact of what's going on. So I'm telling you, it's
you know, sometimes, Engineer Waly, it's mind-boggling to think how did the Russia-Ukraine war hurt the global economy much more, it seems,
than COVID.
Yes. I mean, logic would say that COVID would have done more damage. I mean, but I cannot really grasp it until now. What is going on?
It looks like a puzzle, actually, because if you want to analyze the repercussions.
I mean, during COVID times, I mean, humanity everywhere.
Yes,
people
we're
everywhere
stuck.
They were afraid that, you know, this is going to be the end.
Yes, and they were stuck. Everybody was stuck.
Paralyzed.
But this time people are fighting, you know. That's another story. But the most important thing, the ramification of such fight went to the most important. For us in Africa, we are in Africa. Look at the price of
and we are not wheat. Fighting. I mean, we are not fighting.
Imagine, and affecting Europe. It's terrible.
So, where will the energy factor come here in this initiative? I mean, you're a member of the energy committee
at the
Syndicate of Engineers, so you're an expert in this field. Where will energy come in, and how will energy come in as a factor in this initiative supporting the industrial and agricultural sectors?
Well, Russia is the biggest in general. If you talk about types of energies, I mean fossil fuels and all the same. It's the biggest anyway. And look, Germany was totally dependent on the Russian gas. That's for sure. And you see the lines, they were...
Much of Europe, right?
But I'm talking Germany, the most sophisticated, the highest, the fourth economy in the world,
The industrial giant.
And industrial giant, and the fourth economy, I mean, if to put it in simple, fourth economy, then it reached this point, where you see what happens, without getting into the details. That shows you, without getting into details, if Germany, with its huge history, big history, they were so sure of themselves, they were ready. I started to take away the nuclear plants. Imagine, nuclear power plants, and they were going after this. Simultaneously, they're dropping, the coal mines. Yani coal and nuclear energy, they were about to drop them. Imagine. So and when they wanted, now they are back to it. You see, even
it's so
politics, some big slogans are just, crumbling.
This is terrible news, of course, for climate
without
change.
getting into the details.
Terrible news for climate change or global
warming.
But I wanted to ask you, Engineer Waly, regarding our initiative here in Egypt, the 150 billion initiative, the 5-year initiative to support the industrial and agricultural sectors. How will energy play as a factor? Because energy is key in industry, key in the agricultural manufacturing, production, I mean.
Yes.
So how will energy be part of this? Is energy part of this initiative?
Definitely. Energy is an element of everything, But it depends upon how much the availability of energy, so the effect can be negative or minor or nothing. It's normal.
Are there any incentives when it comes to the price of energy, for instance, to those sectors much in need now?
It depends. Actually, it depends, because when it comes to the price, the government, everything is known now. I mean, the electricity cost, for industry or for house use. Or domestic, I mean, and then industry, everything is announced. I didn't see that there is a change. We had a schedule before this problem, about reducing the subsidies, which means that it can be afforded because the society and the income of the normal people, of the average citizen, can afford to pay his bill of electricity without the subsidies. We had to cut it off, this short plan, We wanted to go according to plan, but now we have to change it. But minor, so far minor. But if you say minor, sometimes it's not the right word, because minor for certain aspect, for certain reference, could be not minor. I mean, minor change in the price of gold makes nothing, for gold, for example. But if you look at it for the daily bread, increase in the price of bread, for example, I'm giving you the example.
And by the way, just an update here and regarding the energy, energy and electricity prices, because you mentioned them. The cabinet today agreed to return to summer, what we call here in Egypt, summer timing.
Yes.
So there will be summer timings this year.
Yes.
From
long time we did it.
End of April to October.
Yes.
So we're back, and that does save electricity.
It's a fact. I mean, as an engineer, we know because it has to do with at least the demand for light. For general application, for roads, for lighting, and it counts because a lot of, I mean, a big quantity of kilowatts, of megawatts are actually consumed. in this. So 1 hour,
Yeah.
you know, then it makes
It does make a
yeah,
difference.
it can make it.
Yes. Engineer Waly, back
Did
to...
did they mention why they are getting back to summer timing?
I guess it's... I can look it up, but I mean, it's
Just
clear.
it's right now.
Yeah,
This
today,
news
today,
I
yes.
didn't see it.
Yes,
yeah,
today.
Yeah.
It will be from the last Friday. Let me get, just to make sure that I got it right. It will be from the last Friday of April until the last Thursday of October. That's back to the summertime that we used to know for Egypt since I was a kid. I used to know that summertime.
And it's funny, actually, you know,
Yeah.
we
Because
used to it.
You have sunset
one.
at 7 p.m., at 8 p.m.
Yes,
instead
yes,
of 6 or 7.
yes, yes.
It's a 60-minute shift of the clock.
Yeah. And it has a lot of effect on the working hours, you know.
Yes.
It starts and then you see.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I want to, we've heard the current head of the Federation of Egyptian Industries,
Yes.
Mr. Mohammed
Swedi, yes.
saying that the initiative will suit, these are his words, will suit the largest segment of manufacturers and farmers. Your comment? He's talking about the 150 billion.
Of course, yes, of course.
Around 5 years.
In my opinion, it depends. It might help even small and medium enterprises, but those who proved their viability on the ground for quite some time. Because who will cover, who will say this? That's another story we should know. It's the banks who will say this. When you go to the bank and apply to make use of the benefit, they will go to your record, which is fair.
A very important point, I think you're highlighting, Engineer Waly.
It is mentioned.
The small and medium enterprise.
Yes.
Because they represent a very good portion of our economy.
Yes.
A high portion of our economy.
Yes. And we were trying over the last decade, 2 decades, as much as we can to push up the small and medium enterprises to help them.
Before we close out here, I mean, we have a couple of minutes only left. I'm going to use one of your phrases that you always use. I like it, by the way.
Thank you.
I want you, in a nutshell, Engineer Waly, to give us a summary of the benefits of this latest initiative aimed at supporting the key industrial and agricultural sectors.
Well, I will put it in the form of hope that the initiative will work. And I have a feeling, inshallah, it will work.
Inshallah.
But meanwhile, if the surroundings and the atmosphere and the circumstances which we will meet in the coming few months and few years will be pro-peace, pro-prosperity, social cohesion, then it will be great. We will remember with respect and admiration all those who helped us, whether from us as Egyptian or from anywhere in the world, you know.
You're saying that the current ongoing crises, and especially the Russia-Ukraine crisis, will continue to weigh on, and it has to come to a logical or a sane end for the benefit of everybody.
Let's be sure, and it's facts. You know, you can hear, you can read that Europe is suffering. Honestly, Europe is suffering. You can hear it from your friends there, even, you know, on this level. And imagine if these countries, which is well established in a sense that they can afford, now all of a sudden they are going in crises.
But you are optimistic this will, with time, it will help.
I put it in a form of a hope, and you want to make me, you want to refer my optimism. I'm optimistic only about that we as Egyptian, we will get together to go through.
Sorry?
I'm optimistic that we as Egyptian,
inshallah,
we will do our best to go through.
Inshallah. So the director was talking to me in the earpiece, that's why I didn't hear the the last one. And on this optimistic note, on behalf of you, dear viewers, we thank very much, and I thank very much Engineer Mostafa Waly, the former General Manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries, and also the member of the Energy Committee at the Cairo Syndicate of Engineers and member of the Egyptian European Business Council. Always a great pleasure to have you with us, sir.
And always is a real happiness for me to be with you.
And hope to see you again soon.
And in the night
Waly.
TV. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. Next week, same time, inshallah, a new episode of Business Insider. Stay with Night TV International.